Warren, it's so wonderful to have you with us today.
It's so wonderful being here today. It's an honor. Thank you.
So Warren, tell me, how did you end up getting to prison?
I grew up in a rough part of the city in Scarborough, and I got myself involved in a lot of wrong things. I made some mistakes, and ultimately that landed me, or that brought me to prison. I got involved in gangs, and there was a gang war at the time with a rival gang, and unfortunately I made the mistake of doing some unspeakable things, and I was eventually charged and convicted with first-degree murder. Yeah.
So tell me about your childhood. You said you grew up in a rough part of town.
Right.
You know, often people who commit crimes come from, you know, an unhappy household, perhaps,
right.
or you know, a community that's not very supportive.
Right.
Can you tell us about that? If that had any impact on you?
I came from a very happy household. The mistakes I made were my own. My environment was a mix. It was good and it was bad. Unfortunately, I chose to run with the bad elements of my environment. I had good friends who were going to school, getting jobs and all that stuff, and I had bad friends who were selling drugs and getting into fights. Unfortunately, I was closer to my bad friends, so I ended up ascribing to their philosophies, and I got myself mixed up. Growing up in Scarborough, in Malvern, it was a beautiful community. There was just elements and those people in it that were bad influences, and I chose to go. I fell into the bad crowd.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I want to ask you about prison life. I think a lot of viewers will be curious. Tell us about what life was like for you in prison.
Prison was hard. It was very difficult. The most difficult thing about prison was just like you're not able to be with your family and your loved ones, and you're surrounded by strangers and enemies and people who don't have your best interests at heart. Prison.
You went in as a young man.
I went in as a young man. Prison, there's a lot of people who are trying to continue on a bad path. So when you're boxed in and locked in with those kind of people, it's kind of hard to separate yourself from the negative. And in prison, that's all it is. It was just a negative experience, and just trying to, I was trying to keep myself grounded and missed all the negativity around me.
Do you think prison had a positive impact on your life? Do you think it changed your life? You know, the aim of prison is supposed to be to rehabilitate a person, right? For sure.
And in retrospect, yes, prison did have a positive impact, but I wouldn't say like the system did. Prison afforded me the time to actually get deeper into Islam. If it wasn't for Islam, I wouldn't have found the right path. Prison was just the opportunity where I grew in Islam. Does that make sense? If it wasn't for Islam, I probably would have continued on the bad path, even in prison, because there was no programs or anything like that for guys like me. Yeah.
Now, you were in prison for 11 years. So how did you decide, and when did you decide to change your life around? When did you decide that the path that you had taken was not the right path and you want to do something different with your life?
Very, very early.
Very early?
Very early. So in prison, there's nothing much you can do but read, write, work out, eat, sleep, and do it over again. So I used a lot of my time to read the Quran, catch up on the Sunnah, learn my salats, you know what I'm saying, learn the deen. And I used the deen as my escape from prison. Yeah.
How was your religion, your escape from prison?
Like, what do you mean, how was it?
Was it your relationship with God that kind of grounded you and protected you?
Yes, it was my relationship with God. It was learning the truth about who I am, about why I'm here, and about like what I'm supposed to be doing here. My life was out of focus. I didn't really know what was what. Like, I was very into building a name for myself, or building a name for my neighborhood, or for the people I was with. I wasn't really focused on Allah. I wasn't really focused on His name, doing things in His name. And prison brought Islam, and Islam brought that to me.
How did you learn Islam in prison? You mentioned the Quran and books. Is that the main way? Were there individuals who came into prison to
Yes,
teach
so
you?
there was brothers who were in with me, who were more advanced in the deen than I was, who taught me. That was my first, I don't want to say glimpse, but that was my first like step into it. But then there was various imams from the various institutions I went to who helped me and guided me if I had questions about the Quran, if I had questions about the Sunnah. Yeah.
So I understand that you eventually became a prayer leader, right?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Pretty much, it was a lack. There was a lack of guys who wanted to step up and actually like lead the khutbah or lead the prayers. And prison is a place where sometimes they don't let the imams in to conduct our Friday prayers, so we'd have to like scramble and do it for ourselves. So out of necessity, no one wanted to step up, and we had to do it. So I did it. Yeah.
That's great. Tell me about the composition of Muslims in prison. I mean, I understand that there is a sort of hierarchy. It's a sort of club that you're in. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay. In prison, the Muslims is there. I don't want to say a tight-knit group, but we all have each other's backs. It's not like what you see on TV where it's like Muslims are a gang and we run the jails or anything like that. No, it's nothing like that. It's more of we're a brotherhood, and we share the same philosophy, we share the same principles, and we look out for each other. If a brother is in trouble, we try to help that brother out to get him out of trouble, and then we'll talk to that brother in private and say, remind him about the deen and this, and you can do this, you can do that, but to stay away from everything else. In prison, the Muslim group, the Muslim Brotherhood, it didn't fit into a hierarchy like where we're the top of the food chain, and for example, maybe the natives were second or anything like that. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a brotherhood that we created to basically just bounce ideas off each other, to support one another. Yeah.
Did you ever slip up at any point, after you decided to make the decision to change your life around? Did you ever feel like you were slipping?
Oh, for sure. For sure. There was many days, many nights in prison, and even out of prison that I slipped. But the one thing about Islam, one of the beautiful things about Islam is that Allah's mercy is, you can't doubt Allah's mercy. You know what I'm saying? So even though I slipped, I always come back to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, yeah.
So you were a member of a gang. How did you get out of that gang? Was it a difficult process?
No, it wasn't difficult. See, again, that's a misconception that people have. It's not like the States where like you're in and you're in for life. It wasn't like that. I just basically made a decision that, you know what, I'm not gonna associate with the bad influences, the friends that I had that were guiding me in that path, and I just cut it off cold turkey. It was difficult. Because that made me, in a sense, a loner for a little bit, for a couple of years. But eventually, I found solace in the brotherhood within prison.
Have you made new friends and found new family?
I have. So I met a lot of good brothers in prison, and we still maintain and foster our relationships.
So Warren, you speak about prison in a very calm way, right?
Okay.
You seem very relaxed and calm.
Right.
Is this how prison was for you? Was it a challenging, difficult experience?
Yeah.
Was it relaxing? Tell me about it.
I'm calm, but yeah, no, prison was horrifying. The guards, they're not the nicest. Some inmates, they're not the nicest. I've witnessed a lot of horrifying things. I've seen people get stabbed. I've seen people get shot in prison by guards. I've stood up against the guards where like it was 10 guards versus me just because I wanted to see my family, and they weren't allowing my family to see me. Prison was a very difficult experience for me. Yeah.
And I understand that gangs are also exist in prison as well.
Oh,
They
for
get
sure.
as
For
well.
sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that whole element too. My past life, well, my past affiliations, obviously followed me to prison, where there was the rival gang in prison as well.
So how did that work for you?
Well, in prison, what they do now is they try to keep individuals separate from their rivals. So in a lot of cases, I was kept separate from them, but there was still the elements of their friends being where I was as well. So I had to just navigate that without incurring more charges, without like fighting or resorting to violence. So that just translated to me being by myself a lot more, like staying in my cell, becoming a loner, staying away from the jail politics and whatnot. Yeah.
So, when you left prison, how did you adjust to life? Life had changed you've been
for
away
sure.
for 11 years, right?
Right. I came out, I felt like a caveman. Like everything was different. Everything was a touch screen. The adjustment was slow. And
I mean, it's not just, that you're out of touch, but also, how do you find a job when, you've got
Exactly.
a murder charge against you, right?
It was everything was difficult. I had to start from scratch, and I had to start from a place where society didn't really accept my past, So I couldn't apply to jobs where I can actually do the work because of my record. So a lot of guys, they turn back to crime because once you can't find a good job, you have to do something to feed yourself.
I mean, housing, everything is depending on having a job, right?
Luckily for me, I had a support system that I built while I was in jail that helped me land on my feet. And then lucky more, Allah blessed me with this job from John Howard Society, where I can actually do my passion and get paid for it. Yeah.
So it seems like when someone is in the prison system, that's when they have to work their way forward so that when they leave, they have a sort of support system to be able to navigate the world.
Definitely, 100%. When you're in prison, there's a lot of brothers who just, they remain on the same path that they were on, or they just remain stagnant. And they don't really have the forethought to think about like what happens when I get out. And when they do get out, they're left with nothing. And then the only thing they do is return back to the same process, the same cycle that they know best. Even though I was convicted of first-degree murder, I always had it in my head that I wasn't going to stay there for life, like the judge told me. And I always knew in my heart that I would get my appeal. So I worked on building connections with Habib Ali, with various other imams, with various other agencies and organizations and people that were sympathetic to my story and that were willing to help me if and when I got out. So I basically just put all the pieces together and I just waited for Allah to give me my appeal and make it into reality.
I understand that you now work with at-risk youth and you try to dissuade them from joining gangs and being part of criminal activity.
Right.
What advice would you have to individuals who are feeling the temptation to perhaps join a gang?
I would advise them not to, because a gang, the whole gang lifestyle is just an illusion. There's no end game to it. The only end game, and I was going to sound cliche, is prison or death. There's no end game. There's no, you don't make it to a certain level that you think you're going to make it to when you first start. Everyone wants to be like the next Kingpin, the next El Chapo or something. No one gets to that.
Power, money, they'll have all those things.
And you get that while you're doing it, but it's an illusion. As fast as it comes into your hand is as fast as it goes. And I haven't seen anybody build anything from that lifestyle. So my advice to somebody that is tempted to go into that lifestyle, who was actually in that lifestyle, is that what you are in or what you're seeking is an illusion. It's not real.
Some people think that if they join a gang, they will have a sense of recognition. They will be recognized.
sure.
They will be respected.
For
They
sure.
will be loved and appreciated. How would you respond to that?
I would respond to that in the same sense. It's an illusion. When I was in that lifestyle, that's what I was seeking. I was seeking recognition for my name. I was seeking love from my associates. But then after I got arrested, all that disappeared. I didn't really care about my name because my name didn't really mean much. To be a murderer wasn't as how can I say this, as powerful as I thought it would be. It was actually looked down upon. And I'm ashamed to say this now, but I thought that, doing stuff like that would have increased my name, but I didn't realize that it was opposite effect. You know what I'm saying? Like, my family looked down on me. My friends that I really cared about looked down on me. And the friends that I actually held close, they all disappeared after I went in. Yeah.
If you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, what would you tell yourself?
I would first slap him across the head, and then I would tell him to stay in school and to stay on the path that I was originally on. Because I used to go to school, I used to work at various jobs, then I just got caught up with the allure of the gang life. So I would tell my younger self to ignore that illusion and to focus on your family and what really matters.
What are your plans for the future? What do you want to accomplish?
What I want to accomplish eventually, inshallah, is to open my own agency. Right now I work for the John Howard Society as a youth mentor. I want to continue in that spirit, but just do my own thing with my own agency with a focus on helping individuals who are in danger of or in gangs. I want to help younger brothers who are on the same path I was on to realize that the path that they're on is going to lead them to somewhere that they want to go. Yeah, so I want to open my own agency, like a gang exit agency, for sure.
Warren, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so inspirational and honestly really touching to hear that you've made this tremendous change in your life.
You're so welcome.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you for having me.